Hello again, everyone. Thanks for tuning in this week and welcome back to this slow motion train wreck we call the Canadian housing market. So I'm going to get into the real estate stats, the national stats for April 1st, and we're going to go on to the news right after that. So let's get right into this. All right, so starting with the bank sales, and of course they are rising yet again. We're at 660 for the week of May 11th, which was last week, and this is for the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board, all active listings. And again, this is not sold listings. This is just actively listed on MLS at this point in time. And of course, it's not new news that they are continue and will continue to rise, and we're going to keep watching them on this channel. All right, now into the national statistics from the Canadian Real Estate Association for April. These were just released last week, so I've taken them, imported them into my own data here so we can kind of get a better picture of what's going on. So this is April total sales, and you can see here I've drawn a trend line. And only 2 months that were lower than 2025 for April. And of course, 2020, the pandemic, we all know what happened there. And 2009, what happened in 2009? Well, 2008 happened the year before. And that was the lowest on record, or the Korea records, besides the pandemic. And this year is next. So not good for 2025, obviously. And next we have all months data for sales, not just April, every other month included here. And you can see, look how low it is for May here on the far right here. It is low. Like it's not far off our all-time low there, or our 5-year low after the pandemic in 2022, I believe it was. But the long-term average would be between 40,000 and 41,000, that line right there. So we're well below it, and we've been well below it for a few years now. Only we came above, I think, last year, 2024 for a bit. But yeah, it's not looking good now. A lot worse than it was last year and previous years. And inventory, months of supply, we're currently sitting at 5.1 months for April nationally. And yeah, the inventory is coming up, and you hear a lot of people talking about this. We're seeing inventory increase across the country in all types of housing. A lot of people say detached, not so much, but in certain big cities maybe. But generally speaking, all inventory is increasing. And you can see there, 2016, 2017, it was lower than it is now. Of course, we had lower interest rates, and the housing market was pretty active back then. So again, inventory is increasing, and this was just May here, and this is what we need. And just like the sales, we have all months now, and you can see we are far above any month for the last few years. Actually, if you take that big spike out, it has been over 5 years since we've seen this level of inventory, besides the pandemic, obviously. 5.1 months, way above anything in the last few years. So a good sign. Prices will at some point be affected by this, obviously in the near future, but we're going to get into that in just a few slides from now. And here we have the sales to new listings ratio, combining those two metrics we just looked at, and the red there is all the Aprils outlined, and you can see on the far right here, April is the second lowest month out of any month since January 2019. And of course, the previous month, March, was the lowest out of all other months. So, and then looking at May is a lot lower than any other months. The sales to new listings ratio sitting around 46 point something percent right now. Almost in a buyer's market, according to Korea's data, which is 45% and lower. So yeah, we're probably going to see that very shortly. Now looking at the national average sale price, $679,866 for April. Still way too high, obviously. If you ask anyone out there looking to buy a house, they would agree. But 0.2%, it did increase from March to April. So $1,600, really not a lot there. It's negligible. Minus 3.9% year over year from last April, or $28,000 we're down year over year, which is a big number there, and minus 16.7% from the peak, or $136,000. And again, this is the spring. This is the peak of the spring right now, April. But let's check out this next chart here. So here I put this on X actually. I have them itemized for April's going back to 2021. And you can see this is the lowest average sale price nationally in 2025 compared to all those others, and by a lot compared to some of them. But as you go down the list there, yeah, last year was 707, 716 in 2023, 744 in 2022, and in 2021, 692,000. We are lower than that. So again, talking about maintaining prices, politicians, like, we're not maintaining prices. They can say whatever they want, but again, we're going to get into that shortly too. And lastly, on the national average sale price here, that bearish pennant, it's still playing out. Every time I say that, I can't believe it. Now, it might go up and hit that upper dotted line there, that trend line. And for May, like, we might see a little increase, but this spring is just not happening. I keep expecting, like, you might see some surge at some point, but it's just not happening, and this thing is still playing out. And you know what's going to happen when it comes to the summertime? That's going to drop below, and it's going to break out to the downside. So yeah, May is about it for that to break this trend, and I don't know, it doesn't look like it's going to do it at this point. Now let's compare the average mortgage payment to the average rent price. And there it is, $2,855 is the average mortgage payment based on 20% down, mind you. So yours would probably be a lot higher if you're a first-time buyer. Not many first-time buyers have 20% down. They usually shoot for 10% because the premiums are so high with 5%. But yeah, this is prime minus 1% and 20% down on the average house price in Canada. And the average rent price still $2,127, around that $2,100 mark. So it's still a good $700 plus $750 difference. And of course, is it better to rent or buy? Well, I want to own my own house. Well, it's still not better to buy. Now, these numbers don't include maintenance and all those things associated with home ownership. But let's check it out here on the rent to price ratio is 26.6% when we take this data and use this data to calculate this ratio. So you're better off renting still in Canada as a whole. When this ratio is above 20, you're better off renting. When it's 16 to 20, you're usually better off renting. And when it's below or 15 or below, you're better off buying. So we have a long way to go until you're better off buying in this country. Will we ever see it again? Hopefully, but it's got a long way to go. Now, this chart is probably the most important chart I'm going to show today. This is the average price compared with the months of inventory. And yeah, you can see, of course, we've broken way above that that 4.5, I think it was when I said interesting things are going to happen. And yeah, as we approach summer, they will happen with the pricing. But I want to point out a few key areas here. So the first one here in the center of the screen here, that was in 2017 or so when the inventory dropped. And of course, you saw that big spike in the prices, and the interest rates were involved in this. We had low interest rates, and then they started raising the interest rates. Everyone backed off of real estate because they got scared. So again, the interest rates do drive house prices. So hopefully we don't see those go rock bottom anytime soon. Right now they're in a neutral rate. That's good. We need to maintain it there to maintain stability in inventory and the real estate market as a whole. But yeah, we saw that. And then the middle green circle there, this is what we saw it cross over. And it crossed over where inventory went way down and prices ripped high, because this is what happens. It's supply and demand, right? But again, there's a reason that inventory went down, not because they're not building enough homes. It's because of interest rates. But anyway, that happened there. I call this a death cross. So that's a death cross to the downside. But look what's going to happen on the far right here. We're going to see, and we're going to see it probably in the summer, the average price is going to drop down below and the inventory is going to rip higher. And this is what we're going to see. We're going to see the real estate death cross going the opposite way now. And this is a stockbroker, I believe, a term that they use. They use it in a different fundamental way. But again, you're going to see on this chart here, as inventory increases, the prices are going to come down. It's an inverse correlation, as you can see with the rest of the data here. But again, real estate death cross, it's happening, and it's probably just a few months away at this point. Okay, starting off the news this week with a message or a question that was answered by our Prime Minister. He couldn't really give a straight answer, but Shazi posted this. Breaking PM Mark Carney asked a simple yes or no. Do you want home prices to go down? Let's hear what he has to say. They asked this question, and this is his answer. So you don't hear the question, but you hear the answer here. And they asked Gregor Robertson, whatever his name is, the housing minister, the same question. And he said we need to maintain them. Mark Carney kind of floating in between here, giving a political answer. But let's hear what he has to say if you haven't heard this already. But if you have, I'm going to give my commentary on it also.
No, there. We did hear yes or no from Gregor Robertson, though. He said no. So where do you stand on that?
Well, first off, it's not a yes-no question. It's not a yes-no question.
It was for him, though.
Well, I'm answering the questions right now.
It's a yes or no question. Ask me, do you want house prices to go down? Yeah, I want house prices to go down. How about you? Do you want house prices to go down? Let me know your answer in the comments. But it is a yes or no question. Do you want them to go down or not?
I can. Because it's a question which relates to different time horizons, and it relates to different houses. So we are cutting GST on new homes. Okay, So that affects the price of new homes. That affects the cost, is a better way to put it. The all-in cost for people. It's up to $50,000 savings on the average home price. A little more than that, actually, if you look at the greater Toronto area. So there's significant savings for people.
I can negotiate $50,000 off any house on MLS right now because the sellers are sitting ducks and there's very few sales. So like literally you can go and offer whatever you want. We just offered, the house has been on the market a month, no price reductions, and we just offered $130,000 less than asking price because they're asking too much, obviously, but still, so $50,000 off a new home, yeah, that's great, the HST or whatever, but you can literally negotiate more than that off most homes right now.
Measures to reduce development charges over the course of the next 5 years. For the next 5 years, cut those development charges in half. Those lower the cost for those homes that are built over the course of the next 5 years. Those savings will be passed on to people. The overall level of housing prices, though, is not so that amount of activity is not enough necessarily to affect the overall level of house price. It does affect those types of homes and people who can buy those types of homes.
So that was like a Kamala Harris answer. That was like a nothing answer. This is what a PhD at Harvard or wherever he went gets you. He gets you this. And economics too, right? So again, great non-answers, but he can't answer the question. It is tough, but he needs to be honest. You need to be honest. We need prices to come down and wages to go up and just answer it.
Once we increase, as a country, the rate of home building, then that is going to make home prices much lower than they otherwise would be. But that's a medium-term effect. And so that depends where house prices would have otherwise been at that point. So look.
Where house prices would have otherwise been at that time? Like, what is this? Like, it's like nothing. I don't even know what this guy's saying. Like, I lost him. I'm lost. The economy, it'd be lovely if we could always give very simple yes/no questions, up/down question answers to economy, but we're talking about time horizons. What the core issue is, the core issue for younger Canadians, for all Canadians, is that the level of house prices goes down relative to their incomes. So the affordability goes up. Level of house prices go down in relative to incomes or whatever. So he's saying if you, in the medium term, you make more money at work, it'll seem more affordable. But the house prices, no, they're going to stay the same. But yeah, so time heals. So again, this is going to be a long cycle, right? Like prices are going to stay stagnant. They're going to go down, obviously, but he's not going to admit this. And young people are going to start making more money. Affordability will return at some point, as long as they don't drop interest rates back to zero for them. And both in the medium term and the longer term, that's what we're looking to do. Thank you. Great job there, Carney. At least he's not as annoying to listen to as Trudeau. Like, Trudeau was just so annoying. I couldn't stand listening to this guy. This guy's more palatable, I guess. And but still, like, it's just a political answer, right? It's a non-answer. From the contrarian, Canada taxes are so insane. How does anyone afford to live here? Property tax on a townhouse I own went from $6,500 3 years ago to almost $10,000, an extra $300 a month. There it is, 97 something. So yeah, that's what happens. Inflation, all the cities are broke. They hired a bunch of people. Public sector has grown. They need to pay all those employees. Everyone's got to pay their way for the public sector. Is your Toronto condo worth less than your mortgage? What to do if you're underwater? Oh, that's great. It takes an average of 6 years to save for a down payment on a home in Canada. That's up from just 3 years in the early 2000s. So that's it. It's only 3 years more to save for a down payment. Like, I thought it'd take 25 years or something. Anyway, it takes a lot longer to save for your down payment. But like a lot of people get help from their parents now. Their house went up. It's $1 million. They'll take $100,000, give it to your kids. So again, it's all relative, right? So, but yeah, it takes twice as long. I believe that, but I just didn't think it would take that short of a time. I thought it would take like 10 years to save for a down payment now. Here we go with the short-term rental. BC pushes ahead with short-term rental crackdown despite tourism warnings. Summer travel surge looms as new rules force Airbnb and VRBO to delist unregistered units starting next month. Well, yeah, what do you think? They're going to back out of this all of a sudden? All right, talking about affordability here. This was a response to one of my posts I put from Inverted 180. Canadian home prices have posted the largest gain over the past 25 years compared to these other countries. This is the percent change in the home price index in 25 years. So from 2000 to now, I guess, or from 1999 to now, whatever it is. Canada, 553% change increase in the home price index. And Australia's housing market is crazy, by the way. And they're actually less than us for those gains in the 25-year period. And look down all these other places here. U.S. 192%, which is that's not bad actually. So Canada, of course, the most unaffordable, and our incomes suck too. So it's the affordability is even worse actually than this. This is just the home prices, not including incomes. This next post is crazy. So, and it's true. This happens at all sorts of buildings. This is not unique to this building. This one just happens to be outside. Many of them are outside. I don't know how you agents do it in Toronto, showing all these condos. You have nowhere to park. You have to park. You have to know what you're doing. You have I'm going to park 2 streets away and we'll walk over and meet you there. And then you go to the next one after that. You have to tell them, you need to know where you're going in Toronto to tell your buyers, okay, park there. And then you're I'll meet you at the next one at 3:00. You don't just drive to the next place. You have to arrange it it's a new showing or a new day every time. So now in a lot of these condos, the newer ones, they actually have designated areas inside the building for these lock boxes. This one's maybe not a new building or a newer building, but check this out. This is the lockbox situation when you show a condo in Toronto. And again, not unique. This is normal.
This is the reality of showing condos in our current market. Absolutely insane. Took me about 15 minutes after having to call the agents to figure out which lock boxes were theirs. Absolutely insane.
Looks like birds hanging out on the hydro wires or something. All right, from Shacknoza, share a room for $550 per month. So maybe it isn't better to rent in Canada. Maybe I take back what I said, especially if you're renting a room like this. So location highlights: step from the GO bus station, closest schools, parks, grocery stores, including Oceans. Oceans, I guess that's a grocery store. Near a major mall and banks. Easy access to highways. Perfect for commuters. If you're interested or have any questions, please text for more information. And there it is, a room, $550. Now my mortgage in 2017, it was my original mortgage and term. I never changed anything. I always kept the same payment or the same term. It was $550 per month, and then my taxes were extra. So you went from owning a home potentially for $550 a month, 10 years or so ago, to getting a room with a stained mattress that looks like somebody. I don't even want to know what happened on that mattress actually. But you could have put a sheet. I would put a sheet over that mattress if I was renting this place. I wouldn't be doing it. But anyway, that's pretty bad. And this is what you get in Canada now. From Egg Vancouver. Yeah, this guy always, or I don't know if it's a guy, girl. They're always debating me. But sometimes we get along, sometimes we don't. I think they're more liberal, and that's why. But anyway, so Black Friday in May for homes in supposedly untouchable BC. This is from one of the builders, developers. I did look this up to verify it, and they do have this right on their website. So this is a legitimate post, and it was the same color, font, and text and everything else. So one day only, May 31st, 25% off all homes. And that's just for one day only. I think the place was belvedere.ca or something. It's condos. But yeah, they're pushing them out. They know they got to drastically discount. Hopefully they didn't raise them and then discount them to make it look like a sale like a lot of the grocery stores do. And lastly, this guy's from the States, but look at this, 2.3 million views. The median home buyer in 2007 was born in 1968. The median home buyer in 2024 was born in 1968. Like I said, boomers trading houses. And he's probably right. It's probably the same in Canada. The young people getting squeezed out of the market. They're not doing deals. They're not buying homes as much as they were. So that median age has increased or stayed the same actually. But there's no new buyers entering at the low end. And it's just boomers trading homes. And same in Canada, but pretty outrageous. I wish we had a stat like that in Canada to see what our average or median price was or age was. I think we do actually. I think I did read something before somewhere, but it's definitely increased. It used to be 29 and now it's 35 or something, and that's for the average, I believe. But the median was really interesting just to show you what that center point was of that buyer. Okay, that's it for this week. Thanks for watching. So what do you think? Do you think house prices need to go down? Do you think that politicians should answer these questions honestly? Or they're just obviously doing this for political points to make everyone happy? But let me know in the comments, do you think they should go down? Do you want them to come down? I know I do. But yeah, until next week, I'll see you then.